welcome back to Salmon's Pizzeria. Today we're going to be talking about all things Scotland national team. It's been a disappointing international break to say the least. We're here to drown our sorrows. I've got a star-studded lineup alongside me this evening. I'd like to be joined by Innes and Lee. First of all, guys, start with you, Innes. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Josh, nice to get a break from the politics and talk about the football for a bit behind the mic.
Certainly, Lee. What about yourself?
I am alright, mate. Just kind of getting over a virus, so I'm still a wee bit like Mickey Mouse. So I'm getting there.
That's good. We'll take your services anyway this evening. Well, just at the last minute, Kieran joined.
Sorry for being late there.
It's all good. We'll take it anyway. Kieran, how you doing, mate?
I'm alright. How are you? Are you alright?
I'm good, thank you.
Alright.
Good, mate. Good to see you.
Good to have you on.
It's good to meet everybody, not on a bloody group chat, but
it's good to have you on, Kieran. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the national team, and it's been two disappointing games against Poland.
Do we have to talk about it? Can we not just talk about something else instead? You know what
I know. It's a shame, isn't it? Anyway, we'll start with the Poland game, a 3-2 defeat. It looked like Scotland were going to come back, didn't it? Get the game to 2 each, almost went in front, and then Poland strike at the last minute. But before we get into the Poland game and all the ins and outs of it, I'll ask each of you guys your overall reaction and thoughts from the international break as a whole, just overarching feelings from. We'll start with yourself, Innes.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying down your sorrows, but actually, I thought I was feeling quite positive after last night, to be honest with you. I know it was a sucker punch and classic. Ronaldo comes in and scores at the end. It's classic, but I thought he showed that he can set up a team well. I thought we were dogging it out, unlike we did in the Euros. I thought overall the performances were actually all right. Silly mistakes, yeah, and frustrating at the lineups, the same culprits making the usual mistakes. But I think overall I was quite a positive couple of games. And the Clark out conglomerate won't be too happy with those two performances for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the performances were really good. It's just the results, and obviously 1 in 14 now. It's quite disappointing. Lee, what did you make of it?
Same kind of boat, mate. I'm conflicted on it because when we went into the games, especially with the lineups, I was fully in the camp of Clark out. But you can't really blame him for what happened in the games. Like, we did put in a good couple of performances. Again, individual mistakes. Do you then look at that and say, right, he was the one that picked them, and he's the one that continues to pick them? So if it was me, it was a really conflicting one because Poland game especially, we didn't deserve to lose. Right? Even when we went 2-0 down at half time, we were the better team. In the second half, I think it was probably our best performance at home since Israel. I think it was in the playoffs for me. So it's a weird one because we should be more disappointed than we are because obviously we've been on this long losing run. But as long as the performances keep up, then I think we'll be doing all right.
The thing is about the player picks, though. See if another manager was to come in, would the lineup be drastically different? Probably not. And the fact that he's got us into that Nations League A league above England, we're competing at this level. Does that not show that he's a capable manager? And if you brought someone in, it might be more the same. It might be even worse.
I think as well with the manager thing, we'll get on to it later about Clark and his future. I'll ask you all what you think, but I just think there's a drastic lack of options in if you're going to replace him as well. And are the guys you've got out there, like the SFA would likely go for, I don't know, David Moyes, Derek McInnes, are they really going to come in and play a different style of football or pick different players? Probably not. But Kieran, what are your thoughts on the international break as a whole?
Just basically echoing what everybody else is saying, to be honest. Disappointed with coming away with no wins and no even any points after it. I thought Poland game, we played all right, but in the subs, ultimately, I think done well. Ben Doak, fantastic player. He's got to be starting. But I don't know. As Lee said, very conflicted because we played well. I mean, we done well to come back. Obviously, being 2-0 down gives us a mountain to climb at half time, but we got back, brought it to 2-2, and then obviously at the end, typical Scotland, fucking losing it right at the end. It's that fucking being so close, but yet so far creeping in back again. For the Scotland that I know growing up, and I thought we'd get rid of that like years ago when Clark first kind of started, but now it's kind of starting to creep in a bit. I'm kind of worried about that. Again, the form that we're in at the moment is bad, albeit if you look proper into the teams that have played, Spain, France, England, Holland as well. They are tough teams, but again, and obviously you need to take into the injuries that we've kind of had. Obviously before the Euros, Hickey, Patterson getting injured, but that was a major blow for us. Dykes as well, losing Lyndon Dykes was a major blow before that, and then obviously Tierney during the tournament. But aye, and then I was actually working during the Portugal game, so I didn't get to see it. But from what I heard from like my friends and that, and people that watched it, were saying we played really well, and we put in a shift, and just gutted not to come away with anything. But aye, it's as what it is. You just kind of need to go into the next one. But you're like, with the whole, we'll get into the Clark thing, the Clark in and out, in or out kind of question later on. But it's like, how long is long enough? You know what I mean? That's the only thing. But you know, you've got to kind of look at things with kind of context. I mean, it's fair enough. That's all like fair and sound saying, "Oh, get him out." But you've got to kind of look at things with context as well. You know what I mean? I've kind of had to think about that as well. You know what I mean? But aye, that's what it is, I suppose.
Yeah, no, certainly just what you're touching on there with the form. It's a really bad run. 3 last-minute winners conceded in the last 3 matches. Yeah. It's just heartbreaking when you're sitting watching a game and you think you're going to come away with a point, potentially all 3. And
as well as that, of something about home form, I don't know if you know, I think it's like our worst winless run at home since 2008.
Yeah,
so
I've seen those things banded about. It's quite concerning. Yeah. Getting into the squad now, when it was announced before the games, was there anyone you guys were intrigued that you would have liked to have seen included in the squad? Anyone you're surprised wasn't included? I know Lennon Miller's a name that's cropped up a lot. He scored for the 21s tonight, I believe, got an assist as well. Is he someone you would have liked to have seen in the squad? Dennis, would you have liked to have seen Lennon Miller?
I don't know enough about him, to be honest with you. I've not. I don't think I've seen him play a game of football before, truthfully. So like, I've seen him on highlights on Sports Scene and that, but that's not really. So I don't really know. Yeah. For me, James Forrest should have been in there. And then when I seen the squads lined up, I thought that's indicative of how he's going to play, because there's no real wide players in there. You know, Doak was always going to be. It was always going to be a stretch him starting under Clark. Seeing the amount of centre mids he's got in there, I'm thinking, right, okay, so we're just going to be setting up the same again. It just wasn't that inspiring. Ryan Gold, I know, is a new player in there, but even still, I was a bit like, just get some new blood in there. It just didn't even feel inspiring. I don't really know who, but it just didn't really feel that inspiring, to be honest.
Yeah, I get you. Forrest was in the squad, but he had to pull out through injury.
Oh, was it? Right, okay, I didn't know that, to be fair.
Yeah, alongside Greg Taylor as well. What about yourself, Lee? Anyone you would have liked to have seen? Any outside shouts that you can think of? I know it's quite difficult because there's a lot of injuries at the minute and things like that, but anyone you would have liked to have seen?
I think that's what it kind of comes down to, mate, is injuries. Because like Kieran was saying, he's been kind of hamstrung with the fact that Aaron Hickey looks like he's more likely for the season again. But Nathan Patterson, I'm not even sure what's happened with him. I'm pretty sure he's had like a bad hamstring injury too. More about what players were in the squad that I'd like to see get a bit more game time. Obviously, bringing on Doak for the last couple of minutes in Portugal. I think there was a point in the game where I think about 65, 70 minutes where we were starting to not pin Portugal back, but we were getting a bit further up the field than what we were. And I thought that was the perfect time to bring Ryan Christie up and put him on. You know, got to be a bit of width and then push at him, because I think we'd also had Nelson Semedo, who was on a yellow card at the time, before he took off for Diego Dallo. I think that would have been the right time to do him. Max Johnson, obviously, you bring him into the squad, especially after the Euros that Ralston had. There was probably a chance for him to at least get some game time there. Obviously, you've seen the boy, he's getting a flight straight after this, and he's going to play for the under-21s, so it shows you how eager the boy was to play. Don't think there's really many people outside the squad that I could think at the time. Like, Lennon Miller will be a star for Scotland in the future, but the midfield's our strongest area than now, mate. That's what I think. I think the team overall have been let down. The midfield's been let down by what else we've got in the team to do, because they don't really seem to be doing the job they're able to. Because you see, like, McTominay scores against Portugal, McTominay and Gilmore both score against Poland. John McGinn, I know he's had a bit of stick recently, but I thought he was decent as well. It's the midfield is the issue, so bringing in a Lennon Miller to that isn't going to solve the problem, because he's not going to get a game anyway. So it's a tricky one. I'd like to see his casting it a bit further. I know Livramento is eligible for Scotland. I know he get called up to the last England squad. No sure if he get on or anything like that. Harvey Barnes as well. I know he's eligible. If we're going to go down this route where we're waiting to float the back again and we're looking at bringing Doak out of the team, then you can do far worse, mate, than integrating Doak while having Harvey Barnes as your starting winger on one side. So
that would be a lovely duo.
Definitely.
You just need a good striker to supplement that. Through the middle, onto the Poland game now. Scotland 2-0 down. Half time, they get the perfect response after the break. Billy Gilmore scoring. A nice finish. McTominay, then he's the talisman at the minute, isn't he? Just keeps on scoring for Scotland. Lovely cutback cross from Ralston. One thing I would like to touch on from this game is the impacts of Ben Doak and Ryan Gauld, because I thought they'd done quite well off the bench here. Kieran, what do you think of them in just the Poland game as a whole? Because it was building up as if Scotland were going to get this last minute winner and then suckered at the end.
In the last minute,
a poor mistake from Grant Hanley.
I thought Ryan Gauld was actually pretty good, to be honest. Kind of surprised me a bit. He was like tracking back when he was losing balls. He was like going after them. He was fighting after the balls. I thought Ben Doak looked amazing, to be honest. I thought he looked really good, man, beating his man, and like I think it's the first time in ages actually like properly trying to play with wingers, and that was good. They really impressed me. Poland game, as I said, on a whole, I thought the atmosphere was quite flat, to be honest. I felt like a kind of friendly atmosphere or anything, but it was good. Obviously, again, like being 2-0 down, give yourself a mountain to climb, being 2-0 down, but we got back. Billy Gilmore's goal was really well taken. I think that's his first goal at Hampden as well. He scored as his second Scotland goal, but his first goal scored at Hampden, so that's good for him. But on the whole, again, just gutted not to come away with anything. I thought we did deserve to win. The least probably we deserved was a point out of it, but I was kind of gutted, and that's the team that you're kind of looking to taking points off of as well, and obviously we couldn't get them, but it was all right. Just gutting that we lost in that fashion, you know what I mean? And again, two silly defensive mistakes made, like with it bringing down a player in the box in that fashion. It's silly.
Yeah, I was just going to get into that. Grant Hanley at the last minute of the game, it's 2-2, it's on a knife edge, it could go either way. Innes, and he decides to go and bring down his man in the box. He held his head in his hand straight away. He knew what he'd done. Innes, what do you think was going through Grant Hanley's head at that minute? Like, genuinely.
Someone, mate, I was speaking to some of my pals about this the other day. It might be the case that he's a year older now and he's lost a yard, and in his head he actually thinks he can make that ball, and he just can't anymore. He's just not got the legs for it. So I don't, Alex from Twitter just went, he's a donkey. Yeah, well, that's one way to put it. I'm not a massive Hanley fan, to be honest. I never have. I'll give him credit where it's due. He was tremendous against Hungary in the Euros, and he has had the odd performance with Scotland that's been really good. But I just think maybe it's my Hibs bias as well, but I think Ryan Porteous would have been a better option at centre half. I know he's made that rash challenge against Germany, but he's been flawless in a Scotland jersey apart from that. And I think if a couple better players come in there, you end up getting a point for that game. I don't know what's going through his head. Maybe he just thinks he can get the ball and he can't, obviously, but I don't know. Disappointing.
Yeah, it's a tough one because the Porteous, I would have Porteous in the team personally over Grant Hanley. And Lee, is it just a concern for you that Hanley, he's not playing a lot of club games? I don't know the exact figures, but I'm sure he's not played a lot for Norwich in the past year. He's been thrown into games for the national team, some big games for the national team. Hungary, although he was excellent, and then Poland obviously last week where he makes that mistake. Is that a concern for you that Steve Clarke's continuing to play these players and show a bit of loyalty to them, that even though they're not even playing that regularly for their clubs? Anthony Ralston's another prime example.
Mate, like you're saying with Ralston as well, it is a concern because we need to get away from this whole mantra, picking like on familiarity. We saw how badly that done at Euros. Like he's still far too loyal to these players that got us there. When we're now in the era where we need to be looking forward. It's a weird one with like Hanley as well, because like you're saying, it feels like Porteous is the only one who's ever been castrated for the mistake he made. Don't get me wrong, like it's a mega mistake that he makes, but he's the only centre back that you've made a mistake and then like you don't see him for a while. Every single defender, centre back that we've got in that squad is a moments defender. You say like Scott McKenna in the Portugal game, like he could class for 80 minutes, and then just that one switch off, and we're 2-0 in. and it's just indicative of every defender we've got in that squad, mate. I don't know if it's a mentality thing or I couldn't really explain what it is, but every one of them has that mistake in them. And like I was saying, it only seems like Ryan Portage is the one that seems to take a stick for it. We need to get away. We need to get away from, just playing your old pals in this. You look at probably, I would have maybe even called it like a Lewis Meal in the squad over Hanley at this point, because you need to look at the future. And it's the only way that we're going to start to get better, mate, if we start to trust these younger boys.
Yeah, I've spoken about this several times on other podcasts, etc., and saying that I think the Nations League particularly has to be a new era for Scotland, and bringing in a lot of these young players and new faces to the squad, and using the Nations League as much as it is competitive. It's not World Cup qualifiers. You need to use it to give players minutes that perhaps wouldn't be getting it, i.e. Ben Doak, Max Johnston, Ryan Gauld, etc. But when you play Grant Hanley, Kenny McLean still starting both games, although he was pretty good against Portugal, I felt. It's still quite annoying to say, at least from a fan's perspective. Kieran, I'll come to you on this one. Max Johnston, he's shown great commitment now to go out and fly and play for the under-21s in their victory tonight, but do you think he should have got the nod over Tony Ralston in both the games? Obviously, he's playing out in Austria. Ralston, he's not even started for Celtic this season. He's usually a squad player at best for them. What do you think? Should Johnston have got the nod, Kieran?
I think so, yeah, definitely. Obviously, there's that kind of unknown entity of him, like how is he? Like, how does he play? I probably would have taken the risk. I can see why he's went for Ralston. He's kind of went for the tried and tested. It's not been really successful, but like Ralston does have that experience. But like, why pick up? Like, I don't get the point of calling him up and not playing him. You know what I mean? Not giving him a chance. You know what I mean? But I definitely I can see I'm swaying towards definitely I think he should have played at least in the Portugal game. After they're out. But I don't even think saying that. Barring like Ralston's mistake, I don't think he was as bad in the Poland game. But obviously he didn't cover himself in glory with that penalty. Giving away the penalty and. But I would have probably started him, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one with Ralston, because one thing he does do for Scotland, he's give his all for the cause. He does that for every team he plays for. And against Poland, barring the mistake, like you're saying, I don't think he was too bad. He obviously gets up and down that line like you would not believe, and put a nice cross in for the goal, and was quite good in Lisbon, barring a couple of wee hitches here and there. So we've got Poland out the way, obviously the sucker punch at the end, and now moving into Portugal, away against one of the favourites for the European Championships. I would argue it was never going to be an easy game. For me, this performance from Scotland was really, really good, like you were touching on earlier in this, and it gave me a throwback to a lot of the times under Clark when we were on that amazing run. We beat Norway away from home, beat Spain at home. We're very unfortunate not to pick up 3 points away at Spain. It was a throwback to those types of performances for me. And there was a point in that game where Scotland could have easily been on and get the winner around about 75 to 80 minutes. So pushing, having quite a few attacks and chances. But just on the game, Innes, what was your main takeaway from it? Obviously, positive performance, but yet again concerning the goal was conceded very late on, but it was to Cristiano Ronaldo, and we know what he can do.
I don't think anything about that game was concerning, to be honest with you. I thought it was a good performance, and it shows that Clark is able to set up a team properly at that level and compete. It was very, you could see that he was brought up in the Mourinho coaching role at Chelsea, because it was classic part of the bus. But we need someone that understands that this is our level and this is how we're able to compete. On another night, we got a draw out that game, and it's a masterclass from Clark. So I don't think there was anything concerning about that game. It's a bit like when managers use these buzzwords like high press and attack in football, but they don't actually know how to implement it. At least Clark actually knows how to set up a team properly and compete at that level. So I don't think anything about that was concerning. Obviously, a touch of quality from Ronaldo, and it's a sucker punch, but I think that's a big argument in favour of Clark at the moment, and how he's setting up the team, and it shows that we can compete. And we talk about this bad run of form, but there has been good performances in there as well. Against Poland, if we've got Aaron Hickey at right back, we don't lose that game. We don't concede that penalty in the first half. If we've got a better centre half there and for Hanley, then there's maybe a different result as well. So, there's some good performances in there. And I think we need to give Clark his credit for that Portugal game, because that was a really exciting watch. On another year, we're just get scalped 3-4-0, and you're turning it off at half time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's down to the moments in it. Like, Angus Gunn was brilliant for the majority of the game, but it's that one chance where he should make the save, and then all of a sudden it's one each. It's just, it feels like the last couple of games it's just been down to those moments. You can maybe look at wee things. I think it was about 20 minutes at the start of the first half when we conceded, where everyone's playing too far back. It's like a back 10 almost, and you're leading Lyndon Dykes up there, so that, because when we get that ball, you're going to punt it up the field. So you're needing him up there to try and at least make it stick. And for that first 20 minutes, he wasn't there. He was kind of sitting in more the central midfield role. And that's when we faced most of the pressure when Portugal got the equaliser. But we learned for that, because like I was saying, the last 20 minutes before the goal, I thought we were very good. We pushed back up the pitch. It was just, again, the moments he could have brought on Ben Doak. Could have brought on Ben Doak and pushed it up further, and you've got that pace in the wing. It's these wee tweaks, I think, that's all we need, because even though I was in the Clark out camp, I'm still not 100% sure. He has shown some form of evolution these past two games. He's changed away for the 5 at the back. He's starting to integrate Ben Doak into the squad. Don't think he's integrating him fast enough, but that's a different point. But we're getting there. We are getting there. It's easy to be negative when you're on the back of 2 losses, but you just look at the stats and it's Scotland have got 0 points. But there was, compared to what we saw at the Euros, there was much better performances in there. So
yeah, I feel like it's just with Scotland at the minute waiting for a switch to flick, and then the results are going to start coming. Like the performances, at least in the last 2 games in international break, seem to be there, and they do look good. But it's just about that. It's just turning them into, in the fine margins, turning them into big margins to get you the victories, and that's what really needs to happen now. I just want to talk about the goal that we scored away in Portugal, because I thought it was a brilliant goal. Kenny McLean, a brilliant cross into the box. Kieran, Scott McTominay, a brilliant header at left. Costa, absolutely no chance in the Portuguese goal. Kieran, what do you think? I obviously didn't see the game, but I assume you've seen the goal. It was very aesthetically pleasing. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. When I was in work, I was serving a customer, and I was asking him, I was like, look, what's the Scotland score? And he was like 1-0, and I was like, nah, you're pulling my pisser here. There's no way, we're 1-0 up. And he was like, no, we're 1-0 up. I was like, what the hell? I didn't know who scored it, just knew it was 1-0. So I was like, right. Went to the toilet and I was like, right, I'll kind of check, see what the score was. And I was like, bloody hell. And I didn't see the goal until I came back home. And fantastic goal. Again, McTominay, I generally think he's up there with the best, one of my favourite Scotland players, at least top 5. He just, I don't think he hides, to be honest. And when he does, I think he grows into a game. And I think if he feels like he's kind of ghosting, he'll grow into a game, and he'll improve in his performance. But he's a talisman at the moment. He's a guy that I generally think him and Gilmore are similar. Gilmore never hides as well. I don't think. I think he gives his all every time. He's in a Scotland top. But I think you could give Clark his credit for the way he's implemented McTominay into his role. He's improved them, and we can see his with the goals he scored at Man United as well. So that is, a kind of pro for what Clark's coaching. But fantastic, and it was a fantastic goal. Great cross in as well. We can't just talk about the goal without not talking about the cross as well. Pinpoint cross right onto McTominay's napper. Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
Just a wee point on see how we're talking about evolution. It's just, I found out, I've kind of caught up in it. I was doing some research today for kind of an article I was doing or something, and I came across that we used to play Scott McTominay in a back 3. You just think, you talk about that, it's I don't know if that's evolution or if that's just plain mentalness for Steve Clark. You think of the positions that he plays in now, and again, it shows, even in a sense, the evolution of the squad, where I'm pretty sure back then, I don't think you had your Ryan Porteous, not that who were coming in for the centre back positions. So it is, mate. Again, I think it's always a learning curve for Steve Clark, and he has to kind of rely on the players he's got there. I don't think Ralph's or even maybe Matt Jones would even be in the squad, mate, if your Aaron Hickey and your Nathan Patterson are fully fit. So that'd be your 2 right backs starting there. So I do, mate. I get it. I get how difficult it must be when you've never got your full first team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And just Kieran, what you were talking about earlier on McTominay, I feel like the point I wanted to raise is him and Billy Gilmore just being absolutely key for Scotland going forward now that they're both playing together at Napoli. I just think that chemistry they're going to have week in, week out is just going to be, it's going to be brilliant. Just they're going to learn from each other. They're going to get used to playing with each other on a regular basis, week in, week out, and hopefully that can just breed more positive things for the national team and seeing them do well there. You touched on it earlier, Lee. Angus Gunn's performance in the Portugal game, I felt he made some really, really good saves. I was getting ready to tweet out Fraser Forster La Gran Muralla against Barcelona for Angus Gunn until he kind of palmed Bruno Fernandes equaliser in. Innes, what did you think of Gunn's performance? Obviously a bit, some really good moments, but then just lets himself down. Do you think he should have saved the Fernandes one?
Yeah, but you've got to let him off. He was unbelievable. Some of the saves he made was incredible. I think you can't criticise Gunn for that performance, and he's clearly the best we've got. You know, I don't see anyone else is going to come in there and do a better job. I think he probably should have saved the pen in Poland, and then there's that wicked shot from Fernandes. Probably a bit of lapse of concentration. I don't know, or just not a strong enough hand, but he's the best we've got, and if he can pull out a performance like that, I'm quite happy with that, to be honest with you. You know, someone that can punch above their weight every now and again, that'll do me, to be honest with you. If he can work on some stuff, then I'm pretty happy with that. So I want to touch on, though, is people keep saying, like, not another Rangers podcast said, Clark has to change things up, especially in the Nations League. You know, just to push back on that opinion shared by that and Josh. You know, we need to be winning these games as well. You know, these are competitive games. These help the seeds for the qualifiers. You know, you forget that our first tournament under Clark, we got through the Nations League and the C League through winning those games. These are really important. So, there needs to be a danger in not rotating too much during these fixtures as well.
Yeah, I think it's about finding that right balance between freshening the team up, yet keeping it as effective that you can go on and get the victories you need, like you're saying. Because, you know, if you finish top of this group, I don't think that's likely anymore for Scotland. Stranger things have happened, but then it can put you in a really nice position going into World Cup qualifiers. That's a bit away yet. Just moving on now to the next international break, guys. How critical is that this winless run it needs to come to an end? 1 win in 14, that came against Gibraltar, and it was a friendly, that game. How pivotal is it, Lee, that comes to an end? Because as much as we can talk about performances, etc., and the context behind them, winning football matches is key to everything. Key to players' confidence, key to what the fans think of the team. So just
key to my mental health.
Yeah, key to Ennis's mental health and everyone's mental health that's watching. Over 120 of you here. Thank you very much for that. How critical is it, Lee, that it comes to an end and we need to start winning games?
Even just for momentum, see going into the World Cup qualifiers, we can't go into this just be a continuous losing streak, mate. I think most people would agree now that the Nations League group probably done.
Mm-hmm.
Just take teams back to Hampden who have got Portugal and Croatia left and try and put in a couple of good performances. And then I don't even think Croatia are really up to much these days. So again, you'd probably be looking for a result over there. It is, mate, just winning beats confidence, and confidence is something we are very, very slow on right now. Hopefully, by the time I know the main players that are out won't be back in time for the next international break, but it's just try your hardest, mate. Try your hardest to try and break this team. Who is it we've got next? Is it Croatia at home or away?
It starts off with Croatia away on Saturday the 12th, and then that's followed by Portugal at home on Tuesday the 15th. So 2 tough games. It's difficult.
Need 4 points. Need 4 points for that.
Yeah,
surely.
you do. And then after that, I think the end to the group is quite favourable in November when you've got Croatia at home and Poland away. You're expecting some points there, definitely. But Kieran, what has to change in the next international break? Obviously, performances are good, but what do you think finding that cutting edge involves to get those victories and turn these losses into wins?
I think basically just cutting out the silly mistakes that are making that are leading to the goals. Just be a bit sharper in defence. I think. I think Hanley. I just don't think he's got it anymore. In that Poland game, I think the performance against Portugal was slightly better, but that cost us a point. You know what I mean? It's albeit it's not a win, and that's what we're looking for, the win. It costs us a valuable point. You know what I mean? So I think just sharpen up in defence, just kind of trying to see out games. You know what I mean? Because it's again, that was our struggle. Like even like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, was struggling to see out games and not getting wins and failing. And I think we can't go into a rhythm of doing. We can't go into a rhythm of doing that, and we need to cut that out because ultimately it's just going to set us back to square one again.
Is the answer Kieran Tierney left centre back in a back four?
It's an interesting one, and it's because obviously Tierney's had his injury issues, etc., etc. He's shown he can play that left centre back role in a back five, and I think he done it. Like, played there a couple of times for Celtic. Scored a screamer in one game against Kilmarnock. Sorry to any Kilmarnock fans watching to remind them, but I think it could work. It certainly is interesting, like you say, when all the centre backs are fit, and you're in a big game against like a Portugal away. He'd play left centre back anyway. So when you're playing a back four, say against Poland at home, I think he would be and should be more than capable of playing there. Very good on the ball, as we know. He can run forward through the lines, given he's had that experience at left back, and he's physical enough and defensive enough to be sound at the back. That's my opinion on it. Lee, what do you think? Tierney at left centre back?
See, I think the only way that works for me is if he is comfortable in the four. Because given his injury record, and I think he might be starting to wind down to some extent, I don't think we can sacrifice going back to a back five just to accommodate him again. I think we now need to move forward where, like you're saying, you're bringing in your Ben Doak, you maybe try to see if there's any other wingers out there. You need to try and bring us in because he played like a 4-2-3-1 against Portugal. And I think for the most part that works, like you said, but we're really good for most of the game. I don't think then we can then revert back to go back to that back five when we've seen even through the Euros that it just didn't work. Like we were crying out for more kind of attacking impetus. We now are starting to see these players coming through. Like you've got young Tommy Conley, who I think is a good striker. You get Ben Doak. If you even push the boat out when we were talking about Harvey Barnes earlier, James Forrest can still contribute. Then like I'm pretty sure James Forrest in that wing would give you a lot more than some of the players. I know he's kind of getting on now, but I still think he's a really good option. So the only way that I think Kieran Tierney would work in that team is if you don't sacrifice going back to a back five. But if he's comfortable in a back four, then he's probably one is the centre back you would take on that left side.
Yeah, I think he's certainly a good shout. One point I've not raised so far before we get into the Steve Clarke debate is Cal McGregor. Start of the season for Celtic, he's been on fire. 3 goals, 1 in the derby recently.
Of course you're bringing that up, Josh.
Of course. It happened, didn't it?
Full form chat, that's me leaving.
How much?
Where's the exit button here?
I'll take the slander. How much of a miss has he been? Do you think, if you've noticed him not being in the team or not, and how much?
He tried to replace him with Kenny McLean, and it just did not work whatsoever.
Yeah, certainly. Lee, what's your take on it? Obviously, being a Rangers man, Cal McGregor, Celtic captain, but I'm sure you notice and understand how good he is for Scotland. Has he been a miss for you?
See, as well, it's not even that I think Cal McGregor was good the last couple of performances for Scotland, but he's still the only one in that position that can do the job he does. Yep. We've not got a replacement for him. Ryan Jack should have been able to contribute more, but obviously he's just get popped on these. Who else do you go for then after that? Does Colin Barron come into the squad? Is he maybe an actual successor down the line? We don't really have that option. So he is, mate. It's even if I think he didn't play as well as he has been throughout his Scotland here in the last kind of maybe couple of games off it. We just do not have that natural successor to him. So we're really, really missing him in these games.
Surely just put Tom McGinn back in the middle of the park and then put someone more forward thinking.
It's a shout. It's definitely
wide. Yeah. I swear Tom McGinn's wasted out wide.
Yeah, he's definitely wasted out wide. Do you think he can do that job though? That Cal McGregor
did? He's Champions League quality in centre of the park. 100% he can do that job.
Yeah, I would back it, and I think, like you were saying, Lee, there about Conor Barron, I think definitely with a bit more development, he could turn into that player, but maybe just not at the minute. A couple of people have branded about Luke McCown, but he's not ready to go into that Cal McGregor role yet, in my opinion. Now we'll get on to the debate we've been waiting for all show. Steve Clarke. In or out? I'm sure everyone has their own opinions with this. Kieran, I'll start with yourself. Are you Steve Clarke in or out, and why?
I'm honestly typical Thistle fan on the fence, but generally, like, I don't know. Like, I can see both arguments for and against. I was after the Hungary game in Stuttgart, I was just so fucking deflated and downbeat, and I was like, look, just get rid of him, just get him gone. I remember in the fan zone, the shout that was going about was get David Moyes in straight away, and I was like, what the fuck? What are people talking about? But then I thought about it, that's not a bad shout, but I don't know. Like, I'm probably more towards Clarke out because I think there does kind of need to be a change, but I don't know. I'm honestly split 50-50 down the middle. I can see arguments both for and against. I think his loyalty to put certain players and that does hinder him. I think he kind of needs to cut that out. But again, he's been kind of 4 years in the job, you know what I mean? So he can't really think with that now. But I don't know. Like, I think if we don't get anything out of these next two games, he's under serious pressure. He could have said that for the games there. He's under serious pressure after the Euro performance at Euros, to be honest. But then again, you kind of need to take the injuries into account that we had. That did hinder us. But again, if we're coming away with Croatia, and obviously Portugal's will be a tough ask, but if we're coming away with the next two games with 0 points, what is the answer? I mean, like, we can't just because we're in League A be like, but we're punching above our weight. We do need to improve. You know what I mean? There has to be improvement. We need to be getting wins because it's I don't know. I generally don't know. I'm on the fence, really. Probably swaying towards out, but I can kind of see why. I can see arguments for both and against, to be honest. But if we don't get a win out of the next two games, then or there's not improvement, like we're getting a point or whatever, fair enough. But he's under serious pressure, 100%.
Yeah, certainly. I think one win on paper, this is 1 win in 14 is not great, and it's probably form that sees you sacked in club football. But I think with international football, there's a lot more context involved in terms of availability of players, injuries, etc. It spans over a long period of time. See, I comment there from the sniper out. For me, in my opinion, he's taking Scotland as far as he can. He's holding the squad back. Innes, would you agree with that? Do you think Steve Clarke's taking Scotland as far as he can, or can he breed this new, like, young group of players, guys like Max Johnson, Ben Doak? Ringgold's not young, but he's just coming into the squads now, should have been in earlier. Can he take them on and take them further, or is he taking the country and the national team as far as he can?
Well, we're on a podcast and we're trying to give opinions, so it'd be easy to fence it just now. But I think after the Euros, I was thinking maybe it's time for a change. You could see the life cycle of the team's probably at its end. It's probably the furthest he can take us. But I'm going to say Clarke in. Because I think he's still got credit in the bank for me. I think getting us to the top tier of the Nations League, I think he earned a pop at these games. And I was one of these people that probably would have brought Moyes in if you were to give me the decision at 2 minutes past the full-time whistle at the Euros. But I also think, like, would the football be that different? Would there be necessarily that many different ideas if a Moyes or a McInnes came in? The two names that have been mentioned. So in a realist perception, I think maybe it's best that he just keeps under the squad. The players clearly respect him. He's had a lot that's not went his way in terms of injuries. Dykes is absolutely pivotal to Clarke ball, and we didn't have him in somewhere. Losing Aaron Hickey and Patterson, as we said, has been crucial as well. So I think he's earned these Nations League games. I think he's earned these games for the remainder of 2024. If we're going into 2020-25 having still not won a game again, I think it's probably time for a change. I would hate for us to ruin this chance of getting to the World Cup in the USA, Mexico, and Canada with this group of players that is good enough to be there. There's a good enough squad. There's an argument as well, but I think for now I'm Clarke in, but that could change.
Yeah,
got a question for you, Ennis, as well. See how you're talking about like the end of that cycle? I was thinking about this earlier. Do you think there's any similarities in the way that Southgate was treated with England than Clark is with Scotland, whereas Clark has no doubt made us a better team, and he's made that team spirit so much stronger than what it used to be. But now we're kind of at that cycle where people like he has taken it as far as they can go. Do you think there's any similarities that you see between the both of them?
I see the similarities in the social media reaction because people's attention spans have just been obliterated. And I swear people are just getting more and more impatient. So I see similarities there. I think, I see a lot of similarities to answer your question directly, but I think Southgate was blessed with probably the best squad in the world. And I think any half-decent manager wins a tournament with that squad, really. I think, so it's comparing apples and pears, but would Southgate do a better job than Clark with this group of players? I'm not really sure he would. I think we forget that when Clark came in at the job, he really was the best man for the job. I think after the time in Kilmarnock, if you ask any club, maybe bar Celtic in the league, would you take Clark with a blank check? They say absolutely, just give him it now. So, and I look back into the tactics of that Portugal game. I just think he's obviously a good coach, and he obviously understands the game. He knows how to set up a team. So, I'm rambling a wee bit now. But to answer your question, yes, I see similarities, but I don't think it's the same case.
Yeah, I think looking out there just to weigh in on the Clark in or out, I would personally keep him in for what it's worth because, number one, he's just been so unlucky with injuries and in context, like you say there earlier in us about that. It's like Aaron Hickey, Nathan Patterson, if you have one of them, particularly Hickey playing, you don't drop points, you don't lose the Poland game. You could perhaps go out and get a result maybe against Portugal, be given the performance, just that extra bit of quality in the side. And if he gets some decisions right in terms of substitutes, he probably does get some results along the way as well, but that's for him to learn from. And he's only beginning to work with players like Ben Doak and Ryan Gauld. As well, I think the distinct lack of options out there to replace Steve Clark as manager also tells me that you might as well just keep him in. Could David Moyes do a better job with this current squad than Steve Clark is doing? I don't think so. Could Derek McInnes come in and do a better job with the squad than what Steve Clark is doing? Probably not, no, as much as he's done very, very well at Kilmarnock. I think the only... And that's the only two that have really been mentioned for the job. There's no one else really out there. Hit that like and subscribe button, folks. You heard that there first from the sniper.
I think one of the left field ones I've heard of is Willie Samuel from Georgia.
That's
but again, that's personally one that I would take. But I think after the antics in June and the way he was kind of treated, I don't think he'll tell us now. But that's one that's a left field one I would kind of go for. But again, I think Georgia right now are pretty well. I don't think you are doing pretty well at the moment. I don't think he would want to kind of leave that to come here. But I don't know. That's one I've kind of heard more.
I don't know if the SFA would go for a foreign manager again. That's just the issue I've got. No problem for someone.
I think the Berry Vaux area is just completely scarred. Like a huge generation of fans. Don't blame them, but if that's kind of holding us back, you're like, well.
Definitely.
You don't want to like hold us back and kind of be shunned from it just because of that era. But again, it was a bad era.
I don't agree with I totally don't agree with the stance of not going for foreign managers because I think if they brought someone in from abroad who doesn't know anything about Scottish football but comes in and just picks the best players that he sees and gets them playing the football he wants, an attacking style of football, that would be the best for Scotland. Tony Docherty's another shout. But just to address this question here from the sniper for everyone. Do you think that Gordon Strachan and Alec McLeish would have qualified for a major tournament if the format is the way it is now? Obviously, back then when those two were in charge, you didn't really have the insurance policy of the Nations League to fall back on for a playoff. And so would you reckon the Strachan and McLeish take the Scotland squad to years? I know Strachan got very, very close. A 2-2 draw away at Slovakia really done him. What do you think?
Yeah, and I'm looking at the squads that they had as well. It was just nowhere near as good enough. Nowhere near as good as the one Clark had. So I know, like Strachan was pretty much relying on Griffiths scoring screamers every week to carry us through. Yeah, to answer the question, I think so. I think they're both good managers, and a good manager would have got us through that Nations League with the players he had at hand. I think with how good John McGinn has been for Scotland, McTominay, Cal Mack as well. These players have been phenomenal, and I don't think it's specific to Clark that these players have developed in that way in a Scotland jersey. I think they've went away for their clubs. They've been unbelievable. I mean, the rise of John McGinn is Like no one could have foreseen that. So yeah, I think they would have. I think Strachan and McLeish with this squad under the current setup, I think they would have got to that tournament. Yeah.
Yeah. Lee, yourself, what do you think?
Tell me if I'm getting this wrong. Was the groundwork for us not getting to Euro 2020 done by Alex McLeish? And then he got sacked. I think it was maybe the Nations League then that got us a qualifier, but then he got sacked after the 3-0 defeat away to Kazakhstan. I don't know if I'm just making that up.
He wasn't well. He wasn't well either.
After the 2-0 away to San Marino, I'm sure. I think it was the 3-0. I think it was the 3-0 away to Kazakhstan when we played San Marino, and I think we only won 2-0, but they get booed after the park. The players, so I think he was sacked after that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not entirely sure. It might have been Kazakhstan, but
I could have just easily been making that start up as well. I was thinking about it. I thought that's what would happen. That he'd laid the groundwork for it. Probably, mate, I think because you hear all these like the time now that it's never been easy to qualify for a tournament, and as much glorious failure we had back then, I think probably with the amount of chances you now get to qualify for a tournament, we probably would have sneaked into one just the same way we did Euro 2020. Even then, teams back then, I think even national teams were harder to play against back then than they are these days. Like I'd have rather played like against like a France or Germany in this day and age. Fair enough, we get battered after Germany 5-1 in the Euros. But I'd have rather played against that team than played like a team like 2006 World Cup or something like that. So would have obviously they had the hardest groups, mate, and again cheated in that Italy game at Hampden all that time ago. So they had the know-how of the managers, and if they had the opportunities that teams now have to get qualified for a Euros or a World Cup, then I think they probably would have got us there.
Yeah, certainly. I would agree with you. And I think Strachan is a really good example because with Celtic in the Champions League, he punched so far above his weight with the players that he had at hand. Like, even getting to the last 16 of the Champions League with guys like Stephen McManus in your team has to be admired. And he was so close to doing it for Scotland, like having qualifying for a World Cup with players like James McArthur. It would have been incredible. Christophe Berra as well. Like, it's just so sad that we didn't get to see it in that day and age. But here's hoping things can improve for Steve Clarke going into the next international break. Guys, I'll just run around your thoughts. What are you expecting from the games against Croatia and Portugal? You initially hoping for a couple of wins? Are you expecting a couple of wins? What do you think is going to happen?
I think hope's a better word than I expect. Yeah. I don't think we'll win both games. It's hard because I think at the start of the qualifiers, I was one of these people that was like low key wanting us to fail miserably so Clarke would exit the door. Like I was kind of one of those people, and then obviously the game starts and you're supporting your team. I think we'll get 1-1. I think we'll get 1-1. I expect us to get 1-1. I do. I think you've seen the signs there that they're still running marathons for the manager. There's enough quality in there. I think we'll get 1-1. I hope we get 2.
Yes, 2 wins would be incredible and get everything really back on track. Kieran, what do you think? You looking forward to seeing Ronaldo at Hampden potentially as well?
I can't wait to throw a coin at him. I'm only joking. If G4S are listening, I'm that kind of guy. But again, I don't even have a ticket. I didn't get a ticket for the Portugal game. So
he's covering himself there.
Aye. But if there's a will, there's a way, Lee. But I don't know. I just to kind of echo what Ennis said. Hope is. I think I'm rather hoping for a win than expecting a win. Croatia away. Yeah, we've got a decent record apart from the Euro 2020 game against Croatia. We've got a good record against Croatia in qualifiers. I don't think we've lost. We've not lost. We've done the double over them in 2013. Obviously, that was 10 years ago, so that's a different side to what they have now. But obviously, I think they're still getting. No, Modric is retired. Is that? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not actually sure.
Still in the squad? I'm not entirely sure.
I don't think he's ever going to retire. But that's
no.
I think the last couple of times he probably has retired, mate.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to come back for a Scotland game the same way that Tony Cruz did.
Just
to wind us up, mate. Again.
Just to break my heart again, hit that shot outside his bloody foot and kill my hopes. But I don't know. Again, hoping for a win because then that would just get us off track. I mean, that's what we're needing. We're needing that win. It's killing us not getting that one. But Croatia away it's going to be tough. Portugal. Never mind Portugal. Portugal at home. But aye, who knows? Honestly,
it's so hard to call. It's
so hard to call because then on paper, you look at it, get no wins out of no wins out of 4 games in the Nations League. Like, Christ, that's awful. But if you look at the teams that have played and the venues that have played at as well, are kind of I don't know. It's a tough one. But I hoping for a win. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Would love to. I'm definitely being greedy here, but I don't know. I just hoping for a win to get us off and running. Even a point away to Croatia, I think that would kind of get us off the mark. But it's going to be tough.
Yeah, need to start getting points somewhere. And Lee, if Scotland don't win any of these games against Croatia or Portugal in the next international break, they'll go into November with lots and lots of pressure on their shoulders. So how critical is it that they get these wins? And do you think they can? Do you think they can get some points?
I think, weirdly enough, I feel like we've got a better chance away to Croatia than we do at Hampden against Portugal. And that's just purely for the atmosphere. Down to, I think people are a bit more downtrodden with this kind of national squad now. When everyone's behind the team, obviously Hampden's an absolute fortress, but I just kind of feel like people are falling away from the national team a wee bit now, and you can't really blame them. It's weird because I think I still sway on the Clark out, but it's more on conditions than now. I wouldn't begrudge us losing the next 2 games as long as I see progression. As long as he goes into those games and he knows himself that it's the end of a cycle with some players, see how we can come in and then maybe a Ryan Gaul starts or Ryan Porteous is brought back into the team and we can see that actual progression happening, then I'm not going to be too upset if we lose him, because I think it's important that more kind of backing up what you watch, the eye test rather than the stats. And the eye test for the last 2 games, fair enough, we ended up with 0 points, but the eye test was we played well in both of the games. So for me, it's you always want to win, and at the time I'll be reactionary and I'll be calling for everybody's heads, when we lose 1-0 at home at Portugal or something. But as long as I can see some progression, as long as I can see the players who are going to be a future starting to get that chance in the team, then the next 2 set of fixtures I can, to an extent, write off as long as I see those good that progress. But the 2 after that, which is the easier games, obviously Croatia at home and Poland away, that's when you're then starting to really crank up the pressure if we don't come out with those games winning results.
Yeah, certainly the results are pivotal and they do need to start turning. But like you say, it would be nice to see some more positive signs and some natural progression in terms of the squad and breeding in players like Doak and Ryan Golden, getting them more minutes under their belt. Anyway, folks.
Can I just say a point actually that on Doak as well? I'd meant to say it earlier. It's the whole indicative of where we are as a nation. As Ryan Doak comes on against Poland, and then the kind of press conference afterwards, Steve Clark's talking about, we'll manage his minutes over the next few years. Then the Spain manager gets asked about, is it Lamal playing too many games? And he's like, well, he's in the squad, he's playing well, so he will be playing for us. If he's playing well, he will be playing. That mentality between both teams. You've got a 16-year-old here, I think he's 17 now, who's lit up the world, and we've got one of our own who's probably he'll have the kind of nation on his back at one point because of how talented the boy is. But we'll just no let them show it. We'll just no let them show it in these games where, fair enough, he's not going to get a look at Liverpool when he's had to go out on loan. But we're no Liverpool. We're a team that's got absolutely no wingers. And we've moved away from a 5 at the back where we can now afford to play wingers. And he's been told that we'll manage you over the next couple of years. No wonder our attacking talent gets stifled so much. No wonder we don't produce these wingers because we just don't give them a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Doak needs minutes. And although I can understand Clark maybe not giving him as much in this international break because of the situation with his club, and he's not played a lot at the start of this season, but certainly going forward, he really needs to be breathed into the squad because I think he's a generational, at least in Scotland, a generational talent. And I think he's someone who can really do well for the national team in future. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for taking the time out of your Tuesday evening to join us here, especially to the viewers as well. Over 200 of you. If you've enjoyed it, like, subscribe, or follow us on Twitter, all that good stuff. Thank you very much for joining us, guys, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you again next time.